coming days, we are going to, the usage of AI will be more. We cannot restrict that usage. So what is going to be proposed to the policymakers to reduce the emissions, considering the depletion of natural resources that currently we are facing?
Okay, a good question. Probably I'll take it first and then I can have the experts answer as well. So today, sustainability is not good to have, it is must to have. That's the approach that India is changing. And thanks to our government as well, not to get into more politics. But on one side, there is a huge push on leveraging AI. We are democratizing AI, which simply means AI should be the weapon that should be given across to every layman. But with the emissions, just to give you some examples, SEBI, if you have heard about SEBI or NSE, they have given a mandate for all the companies that are listed to actually report the emissions if they have to be state listed, which means everyone, all these companies, they're appointing chief sustainability officers. They are leveraging a lot of innovations wherein they are tracking emissions. And one of the most difficult part of emissions is the third party or supply chain emissions, right? Very difficult to track. So there are a lot of mechanisms which are coming up and which are being integrated by most of these enterprises. And I'm hoping, hopefully by 2030, we should see a lot of changes. And by 2027, in India, all the enterprises will start reporting on supply chain as well. In Singapore, this is started from 2025 this year. But today, if you go and ask, even if I'm traveling from Banshankari to this place today, I'm also adding to the emissions, right? Today, no one is accountable for that. By 2027, all the enterprises will be accountable. So that seriousness is definitely coming.
I'll take part of this question, right? So probably, I don't know, the vantage point is coming from the climate change is where your question is coming from. There are already frameworks which governments across have put, right? We're talking about, like, we even talked about scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. So even to track those emissions are pretty difficult right now. So there is an intent. Is there an intent? Answer is 100% yes. There's an intent with most of the corporates in India saying that we need to track them. So first is to track, right? Once you start tracking, then their action comes in place, right? We cannot avoid the energy expenditure. The energy expenditure is going to increase year on year. Absolutely, we cannot do it. But how can you make it net zero, right? What you're going to consume, can you give it back? That's the whole equation we are talking about. For example, we are talking about can we be neutral in some point in time? So the other real life thing which I want to talk about is that there are huge demand coming from solar panels. I mean, if you realize it, why? A lot of manufacturing units in India has been set up. If you know that part of South India and part of West India, if you look at, there's so much of solar panel industries are coming up. Why? To just go and offset what we are going to consume in terms of the other power consumption, right? We're going to look at net zero as the first thing, and how do you contain those emissions is where the policies are going to come in. And I'm 100% sure government is focusing enough around this. And a lot of buzz, not even buzz, there's a lot of reality is happening around. Even if you go and talk about Ministry of Power, they are taking a lot of actions around it. Even for the HVAC industry, there is a lot of sustainability initiatives taken, right? You cannot use a type of refrigerant, right? If you look at 10, 15 years back, in all home residential units, you'll be using something called R22, right? Moment these R22s emitted out, even that is also an emission. Even if you emit that, that is going to be dangerous. So that is now refrigerant has been totally changed. Now, then from there it went to 134A. Those type of refrigerants are going to cause global harm in terms of GWP potential, which means it is nothing but a very bad carbon dioxide. Now from there they've gone to another refrigerant. So the government is absolutely threadbare. I think it's a no-nonsense policy in terms of the emissions the government has already taken. Right now the industry is following that. There are a lot of PLA schemes also come up to change as well. So intent from government is 100% there. Intent from the industry is there. It's just that we need to give that sufficient time for people to adopt. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are multiple other things are going around, and it's only about how to implement those policies. Intent is absolutely right from the government side.
Great. Yeah.
I hope I'm answering your question. I mean, please throw more questions if you have.
Yeah. Anybody from online?
Yeah, online. Yeah, online there's a question. So how AI can transform energy sector in India is sustainability the only goal? How AI can transform energy sector in India? Is sustainability the only goal?
So there's no other answer, yes.
Okay.
I can take the question again. So the vantage point is in two things: supply or demand, right? Transforming energy supply at the generation end or at the demand end. So demand end, we are all responsible first of all as citizens, right? How do you, for example, we talked about switching the lights off, switching the fans off. Are we first responsible for the sustainability initiative? So we have to first take a pledge in terms of saying that I am going to conserve energy. That has to come within ourselves first. Then we'll go and talk about that. How do you optimize the generation side? So again, for the generation side, we need multiple data points. I think it's already happening. I'm sure that when both at a point of intersection, we should have that sustainability initiative.
Yeah, just to add to Krishna, right? Today, when we are talking about renewable energy, we only talk about solar and wind. Globally, companies are using geothermal energy. Next 2 to 3 years, we'll be talking about nuclear energy. On a small scale, we've also started innovating around fuel cells as well. So there are a lot of alternatives which are being created, and we will definitely see a lot of innovations happening in India, make in India for all of those. So
Yes.
Yeah, my question is, do you think carbon credit system will work in India, and how will it affect data centers which can generate quite a bit of carbon credits and stuff? Do you think that's a thing in India? And my second thing is in recycling, do you think India has enough recycling in electronics and like lithium ion battery recycling plants and others? Do you think India is in the right path there? Because I don't think there are many factories which are able to do that level of recycling and extract back the raw materials which are available. Do you think we are in the right path there?
I can take the first question probably, because on the second part, in terms of recycling, I might not be the right expert. But specifically on the carbon credits, right, as Krishna was mentioning, India's goal is to achieve climate neutral or carbon neutral by 2070. Again, in India, we are using carbon, climate, all neutrals, left, right, and central. Right? But the most important thing is you cannot achieve that in the next 5 years, right? That is the reason we have a goal to achieve that by 2070, at least for India. And to do that, one of the easiest steps is how can you achieve carbon credit? If you're not able to restrict any of those emissions by your existing operations, you cannot stop your business, right? So what government of India is telling or recommending these customers is invest in a lot of global environmental projects. That way you are able to get those credits and you can offset. Those, I would say, it's part of the jugaad. Someone was talking about jugaad, right? Again, this is all jugaad because today it is voluntary for us to show those emissions on a yearly basis. That's what we are doing. But a lot of standards are coming from outside. If you have heard about EcoVadis, if you have heard about science-based targets, there are a lot of other companies where India and all these entities have to be showcasing all about those emissions on a yearly basis. For that to happen, these credits and all would be a very, very short term, but in a long term would be how to maximize on renewable coverage. And I was talking about all of those, right? So that's the only way. If we are talking about 2050 or 2070 goals, then carbon credit might be just a small factor, but looking at a bigger picture is in terms of leveraging renewables, actually working, tracking on the emissions and looking for alternatives. How can you minimize that?
So more questions after lunch?
I can probably take the second question. The second question, if I understand whether recycling is working or do we have the right direction, right? So whether it's working today, the answer will be mixed. Yes or no. Obviously, some sectors it is. But there is a direction. Obviously, the EPR, it is to enforce that discipline. The producer is actually responsible, including the cost of recycling. It is actually going to be the responsibility of the producer. So there is a policy being put in place. How effective it is today, yeah, it will take time though. Right. There are, again, answer is yes and no. There are few industries, there are few startups doing those kind of work as well. but then it is a journey. It's a journey. So what happens is the recycled material itself, many a times the cost of that is more than the actual raw material. If you are producing something new, that actually costs less than the recycled product. So that's the kind of thing the policy has to address, and it's the change management. It's going to take years. Obviously, something from the manufacturing side, yeah, Chandra, you can probably comment, but that's the current situation. There is direction.
Yeah. So one tip to all the participants, for any adaptation of any kind of technology, so the human behavior becomes very important, so which you have to focus upon and make people comfortable with the technology. So that's one tip which you can incorporate in your projects.
And Gayatri, just to add, right, I was hearing conversation from the students. I was sitting at the back. People might be fearing AI. Please do not fear AI. Tomorrow, if you're planning to marry someone or have a partner, are you going to fear? No, right? So take AI as your agent or your subordinate. Most importantly, if you're fearing about your jobs, AI would not take your jobs. AI would only take jobs from those people who do not know how to use AI. Please keep this in mind. And use AI responsibly. Train your AI stuff with the data, which is a clean data, responsible data, because whatever you're going to feed, we heard that right, to ensure that you're able to get maximum out of your AI, ensure that you're using it responsibly with the clean data. So that's the message which I want to give.
Thank you so much. I had a great learning. Thank you all.
Thank you.
No, I think if you're quitting for lunch, then I would not disturb that. So maybe we can.
So while they're doing their job, you can put the question.
Okay, so one question to Vinay from Equinix. Recently, I had the opportunity, I think we have recently opened Equinix data center, AI infra data center in Chennai for the first time. So I was being part of that event in Chennai. So I have one question, which is correlating both what this madam has asked and the student, another student has asked. One is with the policies which government has really instructed or has governed already for the data centers, which is already opening, coming up, or already it is opened recently. One thing which struck to me when Equinix had opened its data center is, first thing is, we know Chennai, how hot it is in the first place, and how we face electricity, scarcity of electricity during the summer time. And one thing was striking to me was opening data centers in metro cities like Chennai, how it will impact the power supply for us already, where we are facing the scarcity, and how Equinix have been mindful enough in taking steps or initiatives in terms of the power, whether you are using any renewable energy for your power source or something already like solar panels, or some renewable water hydropower or something for your data centers. Being in Chennai, that is the first thing which I wanted to highlight here. And also, you said that it is across the year, only few minutes there is a downtime in your data centers. So we can imagine how it should be operable all through the 24.
You there.
Yes.
That's too long a question. He'll answer off the stage.
No,
In the
that's
interest
what.
of everybody's lunch time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how we are addressing these two?
Can I have your good name?
Saroja from Chennai.
Saroja, don't forget your own questions because you had 6 questions within one question. So keep those questions. I will try to answer as many as possible.
All are addressing towards the policies and the
Wonderful.
carbon
We will do that.
footprints.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I'm
you,
so
Saroja.
sorry if it is too many questions.
No worries. More than happy. Thank you, Saroja.
Thank you,
you.
panelists, for this interactive
There's
session.
one more actually question. A quick Okay, fine.
We now call
Okay,
upon
fine.
Dr. Shanmuga Priya, Head of Department of AI and Data Science, Department of AI and Data Science Department at Adiyaman College of Engineering, to hand over the mementos.
Thank you, panelists, for that session. We now depart for a lunch break. Please be informed that there are 2 food trucks parked just outside. Feel free to explore their menu offerings, which are available for purchase, or you could make arrangements for your own lunch. And while you enjoy your lunch, we also encourage you to mingle with fellow participants and mentors and make the most of this networking opportunity. Another piece of information is that the lunch break is till 2:15, so we request all participants to be back within 2:15, because after the lunch break, we have 2 workshops which are very specific to the hackathon and will really help you to attend. So yes, I thank you. And
hello. Yeah, there are some sessions after this, which is 2 workshops, one on sustainable AI and the other one is on the LLMs. So those who want to use the LLMs in the hackathon, you will be getting to know how to use it here.